Tara, I think you know from previous conversations we've had how much I just loved Come From Away. To the extent that we've never actually done a retrospective piece about the Stables play before. But given the response that it got, I thought it was worth just catching up with you to find out how you felt the whole thing went because it was a sellout. We even there was even extra shows added and they sold out as well. It must have been very satisfying.
Yeah, obviously. Everybody loves to be loved. That would be a lie not to say it wasn't very exciting and a little bit bewildering even for the cast because they're all pretty experienced performers and that's never happened before. And I remember talking to Neil on the day we opened a matinee at the Stables because I wanted tickets and I couldn't, my payment wouldn't go through. And he went, Tara, it's just gone mad. There are three of us on the phone. We've never sold out a show so quickly. I think it was, I don't know, an hour and they were all gone. So that's lovely. But on a more serious note, as I said to you before, I just love the story. And so many people didn't know anything about it. And so for me, that was always going to be the most satisfying thing is getting people to come to something they'd never heard of, weren't even sure they were going to like because 9/11, not a cheery subject, and walked away sort of a bit like you, hopefully, kind of blown away and thinking about it afterwards.
I think that's what does so successfully. It makes you think about not just the story. What I loved about the play were the layers. And one, it gives you some information that you didn't know before, but it also makes you look at the cultural clashes, the dietary clashes, all of those things. When you take, what was it, 37 aircraft full of people, you forget about the fact that the mix of those people, nationhood, religion, the way that people were judging on appearance, it deals with so many levels of human nature. And I know I've said this to you before, but the interesting fact I took away from it is that modern day aircraft are not intended to be parked up for a week.
No, I didn't know that either, to be fair. I'm sure, because you sort of think it ought to be,
Yeah, yeah,
but
exactly.
actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, there were
um,
lots of layers. And also I like the fact that there's all of that, which from a director's point of view, I had to keep adding in, but also it's funny.
mm,
It's not all, there are very poignant moments, as there rightly should be, and thought-provoking moments, but it's also funny, which is also what happens when things are
yeah,
dire. Otherwise, we'd all go a bit mad.
yeah, it washes. Yeah, you're right. It washes across that full gamut of emotion, really.
Mm. And
So,
people would often leave quite tired. They feel that a lot of people said to me, I feel like I've just been on a roller coaster of emotions.
I mean, going back to November when we first spoke, and I
Mm.
remember saying to you, "Oh, well, that's quite a lot of time," and you said, "No, there's not." Um, looking on the face of it seems simple. You've got 12 cast members and a load of chairs and some jackets, and that's how they change character. But the choreography that goes into moving the chairs around the stage and it being those chairs being a bus, those chairs being an aircraft, those chairs being the town hall, those chairs being a cafe, it all worked so well. Um, in the fact that they clearly demonstrated where they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to be in. That must have been tough putting that together.
Yes, in a word. Because although people, I don't know how much people know about scripts, but frequently there's nothing in the script to help you with that. It's just cafe or bus, and obviously people could watch the film and you could see that they've moved the chairs. But I literally had a plan of the set and 12 dice numbered with the chair numbers, and then I had stick on people and I would work out where they were and who could move what when. I mean, I felt like that scenario that you see sometimes in cartoons where someone's on a train and they're laying track right in front of the train. That's how I felt at occasions. I was literally half a step in front of the cast thinking, how am I going to do this? So in that sense, it was unbelievably time consuming, but quite satisfying. And that's all we did for a month was text and chairs.
To
Just that.
get that ingrained.
So that they were doing it without thinking. So they knew, because they were numbered, the chairs, but they had to remember where. Eventually I said, you can't keep looking for the numbers going, oh, mine's number 5, where is it? You have to eventually remember where it is physically and move it. So we did just that for a month, and that's why it all took so long. And then I would add in the next layer, which would be a prop or a jacket, and then we would work on accent changes, and then a month later we'd start working on physicality of their not just the accent, but how can you make them walk differently or seem different. Or so it was, because all at once it would have, I think it would have just been too much.
Because you had 12 actors, but how many characters?
Ooh, you got me there. I think at least 36, probably more. Most people only had, a lot of people only had 2 if their parts were big, but then some had like Kitson's character who played the policeman. He had about 5 others: the drunk on the plane, the bus driver, the rabbi. So it rather depended on the character.
And what feedback were you getting? I mean, because obviously there was the run of shows at Settlescombe itself before it came to the stables, and then there was the run of show at the stables. What feedback did you get, and how quickly did you realize just how much people were enjoying it and taking in from it?
I mean, I think straight away. We opened the dress rehearsal at Settlescombe. We weren't quite ready, but we'd already sold out. So we opened the dress rehearsal, and even at the dress rehearsal, there were a couple of things that went wrong with sound. I mean, not with the cast, but with sound and stuff. I mean, everybody was on their feet before. I've never seen that happen. I know it's more common for people to stand up now, which sometimes bothers me in the professional world. But I mean, it was universal. Every night, people were literally, as it finished, everyone was just jumping to their feet. And I think that's an incredibly exciting feeling, because they just wanted to show how much they'd loved it.
Yeah.
So the reviews were fantastic. And then, of course, people tried to go again to the stables. And then we had there wasn't much left at the stables anyway. And of course, people had a run on it. Lots of people came more than once,
Wow.
if they
Wow.
could,
Yeah. Um, so
which is a testament in itself, I think. And we had some amazingly lovely words. People saying it's the best thing they'd ever seen, which is, often people say, oh, it was as good as the West End. And you think, yeah, was it really though? It's a nice thing to say, but, I'm not that. But I think in some situations, people genuinely who'd seen it in London felt it was more intimate,
I,
because it's smaller,
I,
venues are smaller.
I think I fall into that category because I'm not a prolific theatre goer in terms of you going up to London to stuff. We'll go up occasionally, but I fall into that category of it was the best thing I'd ever seen, and not just the best thing I'd ever seen at the Stables, but it it pulled some emotional strings. It was just a lovely story.
Yeah.
And you had fairly early on directed me to the film, which is available on Apple TV. And I did wonder whether watching that would take away from my enjoyment of the show. But it
But
didn't.
it doesn't.
As soon as that music, that sort of beat of the music started up, as I sat there in my seat at the stables, I could kind of feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It was that kind of show. And yeah, all credit to you.
Well, and also I think it's one of those shows my husband saw it about 6 times, because he was running the bar. So he sat at the back every night at Settlescombe, and he came to stables. And he said every single time you actually see something you missed the first time, because there's
There's so
so
much
much. And
there.
he said, and I also wanted to sometimes watch, because it's clever the way you focus on the person that's talking, and you have to, because someone else is moving a chair or changing costume on stage, but you don't really see it because you're so busy watching the person that is talking. And so he was making an effort by the end to look at what everyone else was doing in the background, if you see what I mean,
The
and
the
love that as well.
the characters all have such great stories. I think that's kind of why you engage with them in quite that ways. But you're right. I until you said it, then I hadn't realised I hadn't really watched what was going on in the background because you are absolutely focused on the couple or the individual or the couple who are speaking at that time.
Yeah, and the
Um,
cast kept saying, "Well, people will see me if I do that," and I said, "You have to trust me. They won't. I mean, they will, but they won't, because they it's quite tiring, or you have to concentrate quite hard as an audience member. You have to keep focusing on whoever's talking, or you miss something, and so therefore you don't see other people moving something
yeah.
particularly."
Do you feel, I mean, we touched on the sort of personal connection you have to that whole story and that your father was on one of the planes that ended up in Gander. Do you feel that personal connection gave you any special oomph or connection or made you look at this plane in a different way?
I'm not sure necessarily. I mean, it's why I saw it in the first place, and therefore for that I'm grateful. I might have missed it otherwise, for reasons that other people have. Um, I mean, I am a very dedicated, if I take something on, I will give it 110%. And that's why I don't feel bad asking the same of my cast, because I always feel I don't ask them to do anything more than I'm doing myself.
Yeah.
They might not like it, but I don't feel guilty.
Don't audition for
They
you
don't
then.
like it sometimes. There's absolutely sure. A lot of them have never really been pushed to that extent. But no, I think it means a lot to me as a story because I know it. And the fact that my father was involved is obviously an extra thing, but it doesn't mean I didn't already, when I saw it, think it was a fantastic story. And cheesy though it might sound, I mean, we just need a lot more of that, don't we? I mean, the people of Gander were unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's yeah. Everything was put aside. The bus drivers put aside their strike to do what was needed, and I think that was the other thing that came across. So the woman from the animal rescue charity
Yeah.
who got in there to find out, there must be animals on some of those planes, so she got stuck in there. And if the size of your town is doubling, I mean, not even overnight, in the course of a day,
Yeah.
it's a lot to deal with because your infrastructure is not set up to cope with another, what was it, 7,000 people in total
Mm.
arrived. Um, so yeah, talking to friends about it since, and as we touched on a little bit earlier, you were saying it's a story that's not well known, and you think, well, why is it not well known? But of course, with all that was going on around it, and the fact that we had the events of 9/11, which caused the events in Gander, it's not surprised it got pushed down the news order because there were other things to be talking about and to be dealing with. But it was just an amazing story.
It's also quite difficult to, I mean, obviously we tried to put it into words. So every time I told a friend, this is what it's about, but this is the story that you're going to see, people wanted to come. But I think if you just say, this is a story about what happened because of 9/11, I can see that it's hard to make people realize what they're coming to see.
Yeah,
And so I think if you're just promoting it online, I mean, I'm talking about the West End now, promoting it online, or it took off because of word of mouth.
yeah,
People came to see it, and then they went and told all their friends, and then suddenly tickets went up because I think it's quite a hard thing to describe otherwise.
it is. And I think that the writers did a marvelous job in picking out all of those layers and create. It would have been so easy to overcomplicate it with complex sets. But
Yeah.
because it's stripped back and because it's so basic, I think that adds to its power and it adds to the story the storytelling.
And also, I think, I mean, people joke about people's concentration spans being shorter today, which is unfortunately definitely true. But this story needed to be without an interval.
Mm.
because once you're in, and I think it would have broken the concentration for the cast and the audience if you'd had an interval. So I think that was really clever as well. They just thought, you're in now, you stay till the end of the ride. And I thought that was genius.
Because there's almost a rhythm to the show, and
Yeah,
you're right. If there had been an interval, you'd have broken that rhythm, and getting back into it I think would have been very difficult. So
yeah.
yeah, that was definitely the way to go. Is it has it been? Is it? Do you view it as your directing highlight?
Probably. Although I don't, that's kind of a sad thing to say. I think in terms of challenge, it's probably going to have been the most challenging show I've ever directed. And I think that probably will always be the case. I couldn't imagine before I started it, even though I knew it, I didn't realize it was going to be quite so hard. And the response has been phenomenal. However, you have to hope that there'll be other things I really love for different reasons. But this was lots of things I love all in one pot.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And what is coming up next for you?
well, weirdly, so the next thing we're doing is the full Monty,
Okay.
the play, which is based on the film rather than the American musical,
Yep.
which I actually don't like. Um, and although it's not a true story, it could be. And it's well, it's like a Richard Curtis film, isn't it? It's about friendship
Yep.
and people supporting each other, and everyone's having a bit of a shit time, and they've all got little backstories. So although everyone sort of focuses on the last 3 minutes when they take their kit off, that isn't actually, for me, that isn't what the play is about. The play is just about six very ordinary blokes coping with quite a difficult situation, which I remember because I'm old enough to remember
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
all of those issues that were going on in the late 90s, industries collapsing and people losing their jobs, and all the things that happen to men in particular, women as well, but men in particular, when they're not useful, they can't find work.
Because that sort of whole deindustrialization, you lost the traditional male jobs, if you like. So
Yeah,
heavy industry disappeared. So the heavy jobs, the man jobs, for want of a better word, they all disappeared.
yeah.
So it
And people
was,
struggled
yep.
financially, but also emotionally
And and wi-
without.
and
And
and, and,
that's what
and
it
with
shows.
identity as well.
Yeah.
Um, and it was announced last week you've got a play coming to the stables in
Yes. So
2027.
everything I've had my name on the waiting list for ages. I mean, the full Monty, I've been waiting for it for over 10 years. Every 6 months his assistant emails me and goes, "Oh, Tara, I'm sorry, not this year." So that came up. Come From Away came up literally within 6 months of each other. And then 222, A Ghost Story, also is being released, which is, I was also on their waiting list, and that came up, and it's only being released for a year to amateurs. So that's why I'm so busy, because I've waited for all these things and now they're here. So I'm going to take it.
222, A Ghost Story sounds quite intriguing.
Yes, it's just a four-hander. It's two couples in a house, and one of them thinks there's a presence. And I personally, I'm a scientist originally. I don't believe in ghosts, but we have one in this house. And so ever since that happened, everything I believed in has had to change. That's probably why I love the story.
Excellent. But yes, we've got a little while to wait for that. When is the full Monty due on
Full
stage?
Monty's in first week of March next
Right.
year, and then 222, A Ghost Stories in October next year. But it's at the stables.
Yeah.
The Full Monty's at Settlescombe. Neil's trying to find a slot for it because I know it would do well at the stables.
I can yes, it would do,
But
yes.
they book theirs up so far in advance, and the license didn't become available in time for me to warn him, if that makes sense.
But so yes,
So we'll see.
what's in your plate? Well, any prospect of ever bringing back Come From Away? It's because it's somebody. It's
I've
funny
been
enough.
asked so many times.
Well, somebody. I said I was going to be speaking to you, and somebody said to me, "Oh, do you think it'll ever come back?" I said, "Well, I'll ask for you, but I suspect I know the answer."
I think there would be the will, and I haven't thrown away my director's notes
Just in case.
just in case. And we've still got the kit, and I think the set builder has not broken down the set. Um, I think it's more a question of trying to align 12 people and the band.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if we'd manage to do that. I don't know if we'd manage to do it. And if we leave it too long, the cast will forget.
Yep.
And I think it would come back quicker than the first time round, but they would forget. And
Yep.
I think it would be quite daunting for some of them who've gone on to do 100 things since then.
And is it not often better to leave people wanting more?
I think so,
Um,
personally.
yes, sometimes
Uh,
you go back to something and it's not quite what you remember. But as I say, for me, it was just fantastic, and thank you for doing it. It was brilliant.
I would like to say it was my pleasure, and most of the time it was, but not always.
Uh,
I mean, I am, as I said, I am cheesy to say that, but I'm thrilled a lot of people got to see a show that they probably wouldn't have gone to now otherwise. And and a number of people who sent me messages. I mean, one of the girls who wrote the review for the stables, you've probably seen it. She just sort of said, a lot of lovely things about the show, and then she said, and then I went home and lit a candle
mm,
and thought, I hope I be like that if it happened here.
yep.
And I
Yep.
just think that's great. That really
Mm.
is rather lovely. So,
It sums it up rather well.
mm.
Um, and quite a nice point to leave it, I think.